I was the only person who was on hand to help. My brother was at university, he's a lot younger than I am. I was living in the Forest of Dean with my two very small boys on my own, and I got back from a messy walk in the forest one day, and there was a note under my back door from Thames Television saying, we'd like to do This Is Your Life on Your Mum. Can you help us? So I get in touch with them, in fear and trembling, because she had always said, I hope they never do that for me. Now, how true that was, or whether she was just being modest, but she wasn't the sort of person that liked a lot of publicity, so I believed her when she said that. So I went ahead with it and met up with the producers in a hotel in Hampstead, and we started talking about choosing guests. All her friends were outside the mainstream, actors and actresses, a few, but mainly friends outside the business or friends on the periphery, like makeup, wardrobe, casting. She had lots of friends in that side of it. So where to go was the big problem, who to choose. On the day of the recording, she already had a date for a dinner later that evening. Not sure what it was. So they agreed to do the pickup and record the show early in the evening so that she could then get away to her appointed date. So this meant also that it was an evening when she would be at home in Castleknock in Barnes, unable to escape, in other words. She was going to be getting ready. It was my job to get her ready 5 hours in advance under some pretext that I can't remember, and then they said, we're going to be carol singers for the pickup. We are going to be outside your house in Castleknock, in broad daylight, on the 12th of December, a little early, I think, for carol singers, and it's your job to keep her shut in the house like a caged bird without letting on what's happening. So I'm sitting in the front room of the house. She's getting ready in her bedroom. And why are the curtains drawn? It's because there's a reflection on the television. Well, I mean, I've watched television at her house a million times, but suddenly I have to draw the curtains. Well, that's very strange, she thinks. And I can hear shuffle, shuffle, shuffle outside. There was a knock at the door. Oh, Auriol, will you go and answer the door? I'm watching something. I can't. Go and answer the door. I can't. So down she had to come eventually, and whether she suspected anything by this time, heaven knows, but she answered the door, and from then on, whew, it was okay. I don't think she suspected, to tell you the truth. I was just so relieved. I was cross-eyed with worry. A lot of the guests that we'd got together, I knew she really was fond of. Some she hadn't seen for a while, and I was excited about that. My Aunt Vera, my mum's sister, and the two of them were very, very close all their lives. At this stage, they were actually living in the same house in Castleknock because they were both widows. They were a wonderful combination. Now, these are the people that she'd worked with who weren't in the spotlight, but that she'd made lasting friendships with. This was Betty White, Betty Hamilton, but her professional name was Betty White, who was Rank's casting director. And they lived near each other in Gerrards Cross before my mum moved back up to London. This shows two actresses, Jean Kent and Patricia Rock. As I say, she sort of didn't keep up with any of these lovely ladies who'd worked so often with her in the 40s. They weren't family friends, they were old workmates, and obviously this was to bring in the film, you know, the popular film era that she was part of. Oh, the lovely Richard Howden. There he is, sitting by his swimming pool in LA, unable to make the journey. He was a British actor who went out to California at the same time as she was making films out there in the late 40s and made a niche for himself as the English gentleman. He became, I don't know whether they're friends before California or whether they met out there, but he was a great family friend, lovely, sympathetic, beautiful man, and he agreed to do a little chat to camera, but we couldn't get him over here. I think he was older than my mum. He was probably in his 70s then, and so he couldn't come over, but I knew she'd really, really enjoy seeing him. I'd forgotten Margaret Morris, her dancing school. when she was 7 or 8 years old, or maybe, yes, about 7 or 8, she and my Aunt Vera, who you saw earlier, would press their noses against the windows of Margaret Morris Dancing School, just down the road on their way to school, wherever they were going. They were both pretty little girls. My mum had glorious red hair, and Margaret said, "Do you want to come in and watch the class?" So in they went, and before you knew it, she said, "I'd like to join in." So they joined in, and both proved to be jolly good dancers, and were given a full education in dance and sent to the lycée for their education. There was no looking back from there. That's what started her on, well, started both of them. Vera became a dancer. She had a group called the June Dancers. And that is Margaret Morris, who was pretty ancient at that time. Must have been an absolute highlight for her as well, that, yes. Lovely. She didn't have time to react afterwards. She was off on some other dinner date. She didn't stick around. After the next few days, I was gone back to the Forest of Dean. I don't think we discussed it very much afterwards. She was a very practical, pragmatic sort of person, you know. She had her feet firmly on the ground, and any sort of adulation and, I don't know, false praise and stuff, it didn't appeal to her. She went to work, did a good job, came home at the end of the evening, and as I say, most of her friends weren't in the business. She probably was very, very, very flattered, and I'm pretty sure, seeing those people who were there on that evening, I'm pretty sure she would have enjoyed it immensely and would have been glad to have done it, I think, yes.